Perfect. Okay, hi everyone. The people that is joining us, just to let you know that this session is being recorded. So just you to have this in mind. Also, we have a special guest here with us today, the Congresswoman Estefanía, and we will be switching the language to Spanish to English, but we have our translators here, so they will be helping us today. And just please feel free to ask whatever you want using the chat and even open your microphone. We will start in a couple of minutes just to see if more people can join us. But thank you so much for being here. Ok, vamos a esperar un poquito a que más gente se nos una. De todos modos ya tenemos varios participantes. La audiencia igual está dividida entre gente que habla español e inglés. Así que ustedes seguras con el idioma que sea, no se preocupen. Okay, perfect. So, just to respect your time, right now we will start with the session. First, I would like to thank Girl Up Edinburgh to this event. So thank you so much, Shira, for this open invitation. It's a huge opportunity to collaborate each other's in this time, and well, welcome everyone. I would like to just explain a little bit about the session, why it is important to speak about it, and then after me giving this introduction, the Congresswoman will give her a speech, and then my colleagues here will give their points of view. But first, once again, thank you everyone for being here. We remind you that this session is being recorded, and just feel free to ask whatever you want in the chat or even open your microphones. And well, we will talk about the 25 years after the Beijing Platform in Mexico and our experiences with our different roles. Today, we have the intervention of the Congresswoman, Estefanía Rodriguez Sandoval. She will speak about the importance of the application of the Beijing Platform in Mexico, and she will talk about also her own experience in the public sphere. Also, Girl Up BUAP officers, Jennifer, myself, Jhoane, García, and Abril Salgado, will individually share their life experiences and their experience research on relationships between COVID-19 and the economic issues, mental health, and domestic violence. So before we start, we want to clarify why it's important to speak of it. And 2020 was planned to be the year to commemorate the 25 years after the launch of the Beijing Platform. But because of the pandemic, this was canceled. And our country was supposed to be the host country. And with this thing happening, a lot of social problems related to gender are increasing and gaining visibility. This time is giving us a perfect moment to analyze the gap still unattended and the opportunities to better directionate the renewed objectives of the Beijing Platform. So, having said that, I would like to yield the floor to the Congresswoman Estefanía Rodríguez. Diputada, hemos dado una breve introducción al tema. Nos gustaría muchísimo que por favor nos ilustrara con su intervención el día de hoy.
Claro que sí, muchas gracias por la invitación. Para empezar, me da mucho gusto compartir este espacio con ustedes. Saludo fraternamente a todas las mujeres organizadas por el progreso de nuestros derechos humanos y a quienes nos han dejado este legado de acción por la igualdad de género. Desde la primera conferencia mundial sobre la mujer en México de 1975, pasando por la Declaración y Plataforma de Acción de Beijing, y hasta nuestros días, 25 años después, herederas y continuadoras de la lucha, tenemos retos todavía enormes. El machismo y el patriarcado no deja de reproducirse en nuestra cultura, no deja de padecerse en nuestros días. Los compromisos internacionales adquiridos por los países han servido para tener un marco jurídico y de actuación legítima, importante, progresivo, herramientas sin las cuales sería todavía más difícil actuar en favor de las mujeres. Sin embargo, a pesar de esto, ha sido muy difícil realmente cumplir con estos compromisos por parte del Estado mexicano, que se traduzcan en cambios sustantivos para las mujeres en la vida cotidiana. Pues en el ámbito de la toma de decisiones, en la mayoría de los anteriores gobiernos se manejaba por hombres con fines perversos, individuales y corruptos, por lo que se contaba con políticas públicas en el discurso alineadas a los compromisos internacionales, pero sin recursos suficientes, profesionalización y demás aspectos para la ejecución efectiva, con lo cual se quedaban en buenas intenciones o simplemente eran solamente una simulación de los propios gobiernos. Es difícil pensar en una igualdad de género y completo, pleno y respeto de los derechos humanos en las mujeres en México, debido a brechas muy marcadas de acceso a oportunidades y recursos como producto de la discriminación. Las ideas tradicionales sobre el dominio del hombre sobre la mujer y el creer poco o nada en las leyes que nos rigen, ni se diga en los gobiernos. ¿Cómo resolver el problema formalmente reconocido si en la vida diaria no lo es? En el estado de Puebla, en el cual actualmente estoy como diputada local, la situación de los derechos y bienestar de las mujeres nos preocupa. En los últimos años hemos padecido un aumento en todo tipo de violencia en contra de nosotros. A plena luz del día, o simplemente abusando de la situación, familiares, parejas sentimentales, han cometido delitos. Y estos delitos se van haciendo más comunes todos los días, a todas horas, con actos inhumanos, llegando hasta extremos como el feminicidio o la desaparición de niñas y mujeres para lucrar con sus propios cuerpos. Se dice que debemos ser iguales, que todas y todos tenemos derecho a la educación, pero en Puebla, en promedio, las mujeres tenemos un nivel de escolaridad de hasta 8 años, impactando negativamente en su desarrollo personal y laboral. Que tenemos derechos sexuales y reproductivos, pero tan solo en 2018, 23,000 niñas y adolescentes de entre 10 y 19 años se convirtieron en madres, frenando sus posibilidades de una adecuada adaptación a nuestra sociedad. Y aún así, la horrorosa criminalización de las mujeres que tomen la decisión de abortar. Que tenemos el derecho al trabajo digno, pero del total de las personas que trabajan, solo una tercera parte somos mujeres. Quienes ganamos menos que los hombres y tenemos empleos más vulnerables e inseguros. No participamos en todo en la economía, pero la economía de los hombres se aprovecha de nosotros. Con trabajos no remunerados en las casas, cuidando a nuestros familiares sin retribución alguna, confinadas al servicio y cuidado de la familia con mucha carga de trabajo. Limitando nuestro derecho al descanso, la recreación y otras actividades, cuestión que se empeoró todavía más ante el incremento de la violencia en casa como efecto de la medida de distanciamiento físico por la pandemia del COVID-19. Sobre el tema de derecho a participación política, puedo decir que yo soy un ejemplo de los efectos positivos impulsados por la plataforma de Beijing, debido a que fue esta fuerza que impulsó las bases para reformar las leyes y sentaron el principio de paridad para la instalación del Congreso de Puebla, donde ahora, en su mayoría, somos mujeres. Sin embargo, en tan solo 46 de los 217 municipios son presididos por mujeres, demostrando que aún es insuficiente. Por lo cual, recientemente en el Congreso de Puebla, aprobamos reformas a la Constitución para que todos los cargos públicos sea obligatoria la paridad de género, así como otras leyes en materia de igualdad de género y violencia política en contra de las mujeres, así como una reforma propia que va en el sentido de las mujeres desaparecidas. Sobre este tema de la violencia política de género, desde mi experiencia, ¿cuáles son los desafíos que vamos enfrentando poco a poco? Los desafíos más palpables es que a nosotras como mujeres nos ven diferentes. Nos ven completamente diferentes, sobre todo por ser mujeres y por ser jóvenes. A mis 28 años de edad, ocupando un cargo público de alto rango, denominado así, es completamente difícil enfrentarse a una cultura de hombres que están acostumbrados a un esquema patriarcal y a un esquema inclusive de rango de edad mayor, madura. Es difícil, ya que las decisiones que vas tomando dentro de tu mismo ámbito te las van rechazando, te van poniendo completamente muchas barreras e inclusive llegan a ejercer violencia política en contra tuya. ¿Cómo? Demeritando completamente tu trabajo, diciéndote que tú no tienes elementos necesarios o tú no tienes la experiencia necesaria para ocupar el cargo en el Estado. En ese sentido, ha sido completamente difícil, pero sé que nosotras podemos tomar las riendas del asunto y en algún momento determinado, nosotras vamos a tirar el patriarcado y el machismo. Entonces, gracias de verdad por esta invitación. Me hace muy feliz que seamos jóvenes, que estemos aquí y que podamos decir que estamos haciendo algo para cambiar nuestro mundo. Muchas gracias, Jennifer, por la invitación. Gracias a todas.
Muchas gracias a usted, diputada. Me parece que hay una pregunta en el chat de una compañera de Colombia. Me gustaría mucho que se diera esta intervención antes de continuar. No sé si a usted le parezca bien responder. Hago la traducción. What I was saying, it was that thank you to the Congresswoman for her presence here. She's one of the most wonderful experiences of leadership in these spaces here in our state. And that's why she's here. I was telling her that it's a question on the chat, then maybe we can answer it right now. I don't know if you're okay with this, guys. Is that okay for you? Yes, okay, perfect. Entonces, diputada, nos preguntan aquí en el chat que, déjeme buscar la pregunta en español. ¿Qué nos puede decir sobre el feminicidio en México? En enero, una de nuestras hermanas de un club de Girl Love fue asesinada. Y quiero saber un poco más sobre la lucha que nuestras hermanas están liderando en su país.
Gracias. El tema del feminicidio es un acto muy cruel y triste que tristemente enfrentamos aquí en México y en Puebla, no se diga menos. La verdad es que es un tema muy delicado. Lo que sí es que es complicado salir a la calle, salir y sentirse libre porque justo nuestras compañeras están siendo asesinadas. Y justo es por un tema de razón de género. Lo que se complica y lo que sí estamos completamente en contra es que en la misma fiscalía se pueda inclusive o se tipifiquen los feminicidios como homicidios. y no se le dé esa importancia tan grande de diferenciar el feminicidio de un homicidio. Es ahí cuando nosotras debemos de tomar cartas en el asunto para decir que en realidad fue por razón de género, que en realidad es porque un agresor es parte de la familia o una persona que iba en un transporte público, en un Uber, en un taxi, en Cabify, que también es muy sonado, que una persona de repente, solamente porque tú eres mujer y porque vas sola y porque eres vulnerable en esos momentos, decidió asesinarse, decidió cometer feminicidio. Y entonces, si no visibilizamos de manera institucional, para empezar, que hay graves problemas y que realmente existe el feminicidio, si no lo visibilizamos primero, creo que va a ser más complicado continuar, porque al final los mismos agresores dicen no pasa nada, y entonces pues a lo mejor salgo por otro lado, o me dan menos años y demás. Entonces, creo que eso es lo que tenemos que hacer, visibilizar, y también por su parte, pues que también existe la cultura de la misma denuncia. Es decir, que nosotras como mujeres nos sentimos violentadas por nuestro agresor, en violencia familiar, y tengamos que acudir a las instancias necesarias para denunciar, para que se pueda ir generando esta cultura de denuncia y también esta protección. Y algo completamente que también se debe de voltear a ver es que se tiene que volver a retomar a los machos agresores. Es decir, que a ellos también exista un castigo en el primer intento de violencia, es decir, violencia de género y demás, y entonces que ellos sean los que tengan que acudir a los cursos, a capacitaciones, a sensibilización y demás, porque al final vuelven a incurrir en lo mismo, y vuelven a incurrir en lo mismo, y vuelve a pasar lo mismo, entonces no se hace nada con estas personas que violentan a las mujeres. Entonces, pues hay que tomarnos muy fuerte de la mano entre nosotras, tanto por parte, gracias por la pregunta de parte de Colombia, pero sí, lamentablemente en México estamos viviendo una crisis muy triste, muy lamentable. Gracias por esa solidaridad, y decir pues estamos todas juntas, y pues que tenemos que hacer algo para hacer este cambio, no meramente pues que no sea nada más de palabras, sino que también sea un tema institucional, y es ahí donde nosotros, como Congreso local, podemos hacer algunas incidencias. Muchas gracias por la pregunta.
Muchas gracias a usted, diputada. Continuaré ahora con el guión que tenemos en inglés. Muchas gracias, diputada. Okay, thank you so much, Congresswoman. And we will continue with the order that we had. And now I'll yield the floor to Jhoane García. She will give us a general perspective, a point of view of the platform and how this has been applied in Mexico and the economic consequences of it. So please, Jhoane, you have the word.
Thank you, Jennifer. I am going to share with you a presentation we made to explain this topic in an easier way. Okay, so if you can see presentation well. Yes. Well, first of all, I would like to say that Up BUAP is very happy for the invitation Up Edinburgh made to us to collaborate in this very important event to make know the current context in which each country is living after the pandemic. Yes, and first, so that is why we decide to address the theme 25 years after the Beijing Platform in Mexico. The beginning declaration and platform for action was signed in 1945, where 189 governments commit themselves to actions to combat gender inequality based in 12 topics. There are poverty, education and training, health, violence, armed conflict, economy, power and decision-making, institutional mechanisms, human rights, the media, the environment, and the girl child. After 25 years, the United Nations Development Program has issued a storytelling document, Human Development Reports, in 2019, in which it states that no region of the world has achieved gender equality. This graph shows the increases in gender inequality in each region of the world. We first Arab states with 0.531, East Asia and the Pacific with 0.31, Europe and Central Asia 0.276, Latin and the Caribbean with 0.383, South Asia 0.510, Sub-Saharan Africa 0.573. Even after reviving each component for this assessment, it was concluded that it will take 2 centuries to achieve full gender equality on the planet. That it's really, really worrying and really sad. So the beginning declaration and platform is one of the most important tools in the fight for gender equality. It is worth mentioning that the labor issue combined with the measures that have been declared to address the pandemic. It turns out that in Latin America until 2019, the labor gap between women and men was 30%, and also 30% of women were employed in care work, according to data from IDB 2019. The future is already here. And well, in Mexico is no exception. In addition to having the region's highest percentages of women working in the informal economy, they also have the highest percentages of women working in care work, according to data from the National Council for the Prevention of Discrimination. Women devote 30 hours illnesses. Unfortunately, this reality of women did not motivate the head of the exalted to issue any emergency action in favor of them. As a result of all this, the question arises is, what will women who depend on their commercial or domestic work do during this quarantine period? And in order to contrast this question, I give the floor to my friend Jennifer Solano.
Oh, Jenny, you're on mute. There we go. Cool.
Here I am. Thank you. Thank you, Jhoane. As Jhoane mentioned, it's so hard to know that even the United Nations is telling us that we will need 2 centuries to achieve gender equality. So having that in mind, I would like to mention the next thing, that it's what is happening in Mexico and why 2020 is so important. And as I mentioned in the introduction, this year was supposed to be important for us because Mexico was planned to be the host country to celebrate the Beijing Platform 20 years. But because of the pandemic, this was canceled. And this is giving us a huge opportunity to know what we haven't done yet. And as Anita Batia, she is a member of the UN Women, and of course, she's always pending on the Beijing Platform. She is also telling us, you should analyze in your countries what is happening, what hasn't been attended yet, and how you can contribute. And for this, I would like to tell you that in Mexico, in 2019, Mexico presents a national strategy. This strategy consists in a collaboration with the French government and with the United Nations. And they were planning to launch this forum based on gender equality, starting in Mexico and then finish it in Paris. This had the purpose to discuss gender equality, violence against women, and how can we tackle this solution. But even though the Generation Equality Forum was planned to be a space in collaboration to attend the topic, but because of this was suspended. And then the question that we have right now is, what can we do to achieve the goals of the Beijing Platform and also to eliminate and eradicate violence against women? And in that convention, one of the presidents of the In Mujeres is an organism in Mexico specialized in attend gender equality and of course attend women rights and women needs. The president mentioned that as governments, this is our chance to make social movements into important actors in the global community and to provide a true platform for equality. And also, what I would like to say according to this is that we, Mexico as a country, have a big challenge in this. But what I would like to clarify here is that we have a displacement of needs. First, before the pandemic, Mexico was facing a huge amount of gender problems. But after this, we were seeing that the needs are not being attended. Before the COVID-19, this sexuality, reproductive health, and violence against women was not being unattended. Now, because of COVID-19, we have a displacement of needs. Now, the government does not have in mind, in the first place, to attend these topics. The main topic right now is to attend the COVID-19. And this is giving us a huge delay in attending the gender gap equality. So Mexico should put attention to what these organizations are saying and what can we do to achieve the goals that we need. And also, I would like to mention that us as international relations students are very concerned about this because Mexico established that we have a foreign policy based on feminism. But the differentiation between what is happening in the exterior of our country and what is happening in the inside, it's huge. And we need to have that in mind. And the proposals of many shelters in Mexico here that are attending domestic violence is to have a sitting evaluation and not letting the governments to face and embrace everything from themselves. as the president of In Mujeres mentioned, we need to keep putting into our minds that what the feminist movements have made and what contributions they have to the gender equality agenda. Also, the Mexican government acknowledged that although progress has been made, of course, women still experience power imbalances and inequality. And this is why the Beijing +25 forum must follow the example of the activism displayed in our times. And that's why it's really important to speak about this. As the Congresswoman mentioned before, she's an example and a positive example of what the Beijing Platform can do for women. But we still have a long path to follow to achieve the goals we need. And having said that, I would like to yield the floor to Abril so she can explain a little bit more about what is happening in our country. Because what can we expect when our president is saying that the domestic violence, the violence against women it's fake. So please, Abril, if you would like to continue.
Thank you, Jenny. First of all, I would like to present the screen because I think it's kind of blurry. Jhoane, can I do it?
Yes, yes, Abril, of course.
Thank you. Just
You can also send a link to the presentation in the chat feature, and then we can all look on it on our own if it's.
Yes, for sure. We will share the link later so you can see, well, maybe right now, so you can see our presentation clearer. But I think it's better in this case. Okay. But I put the link. Thank you.
Sure. There. Well, thank you for the introduction, Jenny. I would like to start with the Mexican sides because, as the Congresswoman said, we are not just talking about the violent deaths of women that had increased during the pandemic, during the first 4 months, but we're talking about typification of the particular cases. In comparison to 2020, it had been an increase of these cases in a year. And this also has something to do, as I said, with the typification. Even though the feminicides decreased 2.1%, homicides increased by 11.7%, which means it's not just talking about specific cases, but also talking about how the government sees this typification of the cases, how the government tell us that we are decreasing the feminicides, we're increasing homicides. So this also is a problem, talking about the typification of the cases. Besides, it is estimated that daily, in average, 10 women are assassinated just because of gender reasons, which tells us a little bit about the government in Mexico, but also the government around the world. Because being a Mexico is difficult, but all around the world, you need to have access to education, you need to have access to different issues, as the Beijing Platform says. So staying there, I would like to continue with domestic violence. During the pandemic, the calls about domestic violence increased a lot, like 30% to 100%. And also, according to a study of the government, it says that the cases not just increase in percentage, but also in goals. Women were trying to search for help, but the government didn't respond. The government, as you said, Jenny, is talking about these cases don't appear, these cases don't exist, but we're seeing in every case, in every percentage, that it does exist, but we don't do anything about it. It's not as I the webinar yesterday said, it's not just talking about the data, it's talking about the narratives that go along with the data. Also, it's not just talking about the increased cases in Mexico, but also talking about the challenges that we face as women, talking about intersectional gender-based violence, because we don't suffer just because we're women. We are suffering because of ethnicity, we suffer because of race, we suffer because of different particular cases that we are as women in Mexico and all around the world. Also in Latin America, we see these cases. We're not just being attacked because we're women. We're being attacked because we have background, because of the color skin. And this is also reflected in the gender pay gap, because nowadays, because we're women. Also, we are talking about the gap that exists because we're mothers. When you try to apply to work, they don't give it to you because sometimes you're a mother and you have to give up your job to be a mother full-time job. And men tend to be promoted at these cases. Men don't have to struggle with the problem of being a mother and work at the same time. Also, we need to focus on the glass ceiling, or as in Mexico said, el techo de cristal, or silken curtain for women, because when we try to apply for a job, we had to face these difficulties of looking for a job and at the same time don't have the same resources as men does have in these cases. At the same time, access to health and institutions. During the pandemic, we can see that women are looking for help, but it's a struggle to think about what to do when you're isolated in home, when you don't have access to these institutions to help you. Also, as the Congresswoman said, women in power and decision making. We nowadays can see women in power as a goal to achieve, but we can not see the gender perspective that we need to have in law, that we need to have in policies. We need to have the gender perspective in order to these women to have access to power and decision making roles. As you can see in the presentation, in Mexico, we have pretty large difference between salary between men and women, and they have 14.6% of difference between the salary of being a woman in Mexico in comparison to being a man. And only in Veracruz, which is a state around the Gulf, you can see more of a stable pay gap comparing to other states such as Coahuila, Campeche, Chihuahua. So as you can see, there's a plenty narrow pay gap from Veracruz to other states. Saying this, I would like to ask you all, or maybe someone in the audience, what do you think about the gender pay gap? It is something that we're struggling today, or it is something that has happened since for the first women tried to apply for a job?
Actually, Abril, there's a question here from Shira, and she's asking us, why is the gender pay gap smaller in Veracruz as opposed to other states? And also, here is a comment that it's saying, it is so unfortunate that in this day and age, we still face these discrepancies despite research providing, and we are just as capable. And another question is, do we raise our hand or do we talk in the chat? As you wish, don't worry. You can open your microphone.
Okay, to respond to that question, thank you, Shura. The difference in Veracruz in comparison to other states is because of the law and legislations in institutions such as government institutions. Because we're talking about the IMSS, which is an institution that works for government, talking about health. It is an institution focused on health, but we can also see that the law in Veracruz is kind of more advanced in comparison to other states that has some legislations for women that don't achieve the gender equality that we're looking for. So that will be all for me. I don't know if any of you would like to continue with my question or something, some other topic.
You just mentioned Veracruz, and I'm not very aware of what's going on there, but I think yesterday there was a problem with the legislation and the abortion. I'm not really into that news, but can we talk a little bit about that? Because it's interesting that the pay gap, it's more equal there, but at the same time there's also going on. Does someone know more than that?
Sure. Thank you. I don't know if Abril would like to give an intervention, but I would like to mention something. And that I was talking yesterday with one of my friends she's expert on this law thing. And what happened in Veracruz yesterday is that it was a proposal to the court to finally do not penalize abortion in that state. So the matter was, if they approve it to continue with the case, it will be wonderful to the entire country, because many other courts in other states, they could do the same, put a proposal to the court and just to continue with the process to make abortion legal. But what happened yesterday is that they deny the proposal, and it was not because they were against abortion, but it was because the process was not well done. So yesterday was a huge debate in the country, to those who support life, those who support abortion, because it was seen that the court denied the proposal because they were against abortion. What they mentioned before and later in the other session, it's that the court didn't deny that proposal because they were against abortion. They denied it because the way it was made and all these law things were not well done in that moment. So probably there will be another proposal so the court can analyze the case better. But that's what happened yesterday in Veracruz. It was a huge debate, and it's still being polarization in society.
Well, thank you.
I mean, I think it's really interesting to see. I mean, I've done a little bit of research of this myself, just kind of looking at, the significance of gender equal policies, like how, culture, society, as well as kind of like political and economic considerations can really impact, day-to-day relationships between individuals. And it's really interesting to see how those links, that these structural inequalities, really impact day-to-day relationships when in coming to salaries or gender-based violence. It's
Of course it is an issue, and totally I think one of the things that our country has is that each state has its kind of autonomy, and that's another thing that we we're trying to face. Because it doesn't matter if the federal government makes an announcement, such as Mexico has a feminist foreign policy, but it also depends on each state if they want to approve it or not. And that, I think that's a barrier for many feminist movements to achieve gender equality, because we depend on what the state say. But thank you so much for that intervention. And as Abril mentioned, that it's everything. That's pretty much about what we have for today. And I also would like to speak a little bit in Spanish so the Congresswoman and the other members can fully understand what we're saying. Y como estaba diciendo hace unos momentos, hemos terminado parte de la presentación que nosotros tenemos planeadas para ustedes. Ahora pues estamos abiertas al diálogo, a preguntas si las quieren poner en el chat o si quieren abrir su micrófono, no hay ningún problema. Hace un momento hablábamos del caso que ocurrió en Veracruz con el tema del aborto y nos preguntaban que si podíamos explicar un poco más. Entonces, bueno, básicamente es eso. Agradecer nuevamente a los participantes que están aquí, a la diputada también por su intervención. Hemos ocupado, creo que su ejemplo claramente y muchas veces a lo largo de la presentación, porque la diputada es un ejemplo claro de las resistencias que se tienen en espacios de poder. Entonces, es un honor tenerla aquí nuevamente. Muchísimas gracias. So, I was saying that we were finished, so if you can give us your comments, your opinions. Also, the Congresswoman is willing to answer whatever question you have. And I will see the chat because I think someone was asking something about machismo. Oh yeah, Shira. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the question here that I can see is that Shira is asking us, could you explain machismo? And I also would like to say this in Spanish. Hay una pregunta aquí y nos están pidiendo que si podemos explicar un poco del machismo. No sé si alguna desea responder esta pregunta.
Yeah, sure. I would like to have a brief resume about what machismo is in Mexico. When you talk about machismo in Mexico, we're not just talking about the different culture that we have respecting men having power always. We're also talking about the discrimination that women suffer every day because of the culture that we have with men in power, with men having this idea that women have to stay at home, that women have to take care of the children, that women have to have this like idea of being the ideal woman. This is kind of the idea that machismo has in Mexico, the idea that women cannot be a leader, cannot be someone that can do the things by themselves, because this idea that Mexico has all the time, that men has to do the labor, has to do the job, but women have to stay at home. Jenny, I don't know if you can say something about it too, or Jhoane, or anyone would like to say something more about the machismo in Mexico. How do you live it?
Thank you.
Yes, of course, Abril. I want to say something about that topic. Yes, I would like to mention very briefly that machismo is this Mexican culture that makes men feel brave and proud about women. So yes, is that in really resume words.
Also, I would like to show you, I think I can't. Well, there is a book that we have here in Mexico that it's called The Invisible Machismo. This is very important because machismo is not only the obvious discrimination, but it's also some attitudes that we have towards each other even women, to other people, to other women, to other men. And I think that, as my other colleagues mentioned, yes, it is based on gender discrimination, but it's also machismo can happen when you criticize a woman or when you put a man first, in your relations. I don't know if I can explain myself in that sense. So this book called Invisible Machismo is what we have very arranged in our attitudes, in our action, in our daily relations that can happen too. And it's obviously based on gender discrimination.
Maybe just to give a little bit more perspective on that, because that question has really caught my heart. I think machismo, it's a trap for everyone, not just for women. And of course, I mean, I'm no expert, but I think both parts are equally affected. I was in Egypt, I think 2 years ago, and there the men go and take their hand, like they walk grabbing hands, men. And I consider myself a really open-minded guy, but when they did that, I was like, ooh, this is weird. And even though you sometimes think to yourself, oh, I'm not machista, it's so in our culture that it's really hard to get out of. So you have to really question things deep down, and actions and jokes, like everything. You have to question everything. Maybe that book it's explained it better, but I think it's a trap for both parts.
Yeah, it is a trap, of course. Thank you so much for your comments on this. Okay, I was just checking on the chat if there's any more comments. Just please feel free to open your microphone too. And also just to have a reminder of the time, we just have an hour, so we're very close to finish the session. So feel free to ask whatever you need or comment on whatever you want.
Hey. Okay, sorry, I came late because I had some Wi-Fi failures. But I just wanted to know, like, the topic about the Beijing platform. So I know that you mentioned it probably at the beginning of the session, but what's the importance of, this platform? What's like the most relevant, or what it is about?
Okay, thank you. I will translate your question in Spanish too.
Yeah.
Y nos comentan aquí que si podríamos mencionar cuál es la importancia de la plataforma de Beijing y qué es lo importante de tener estos mecanismos.
Yes. Well, I mentioning the Beijing Declaration and Platform is one of the most important tools in the fight for gender equality. So that is one of the most things that we need to know about this platform. I don't know if anyone to say something about that.
Mm-hmm.
Jenny would like to say, or can I continue?
Go ahead, Abril, please.
Sure. As Jhoane said, it's not just about the important lies, not just about what she mentioned, but also about the precedent that the platform set as talking about women's rights as human rights. And I would like to quote something: "The equal rights and inherent human dignity of women and men and other purposes and principles enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations, which stated that women's rights also is an important matter as a nowadays mother for focusing on the violence that women struggle every day. Also to focus on the 12 points that we need to face as women every day, and talking also about history, which is poverty, health, violence, economy, power and decision-making, education, institutional mechanisms, human rights, media, environment. All of these topics that we need to focus, not just talking about women, but also talking about the 2030 agenda.
Also, I would like to add something very quickly, and it's that for me personally, I would like to say that, for example, this platform and all the mechanisms and the institutions focusing on gender equality are really, really important, because the Beijing Platform was the first international convention made in the history. And it was the first time that women were put into the international eye. And it was the first time in which countries were obligated to generate policies and to generate a better space and safer spaces for women. So I think that the importance of this is that we are gaining visibility. We have institutions, we have platforms that are helping us to achieve our goals. And I think that what of the Congresswoman mentioned before, and it's that she's a clear example and a positive example on consequences of the platform. What the platform has made for us. And I think that thanks to it, we can incursionate in these spaces of power and to change the conception in what we want. So I think that that's why it's important. And I think that's why it is important to speak about it in Mexico. And also here is the book. It's in Spanish, of course, but I think there's also an English version, and it's the machismo, invisible machismo. Okay, so I think we're going to the end of the session. We only have 2 minutes left, but if we don't have more comments or questions, oh, I see one question here.
Tengo una pregunta.
Claro, Sheila. Here's a question. It will be made in Spanish.
Okay.
¿Qué pasó, Sheila?
Esta pregunta va orientada específicamente a la diputada Estefanía. Bueno, hace muy poco tiempo se hizo rodar por las redes sociales un video en el cual se veía el problema que hubo con la diputada Tonatzin en la sesión virtual, en donde un diputado y varias diputadas estaban riendo pensando en que el comentario había sido direccionado a ella. En ese contexto quisiera saber si usted como diputada que vive día con día en el Congreso y observa esas coaliciones que existen, si en verdad existe una sororidad dentro del Congreso con las demás diputadas. Porque en ese video vimos como otras diputadas se rieron de lo que el otro diputado manifestó, y eso es claramente una visión del machismo, de lo que comentábamos hace rato, y eso también es una violación, precisamente es un tipo de violencia en razón de género, una violencia política.
Gracias. ¿Puedo contestar o...?
Adelante, diputada, adelante.
Gracias, Sheila, por la pregunta. Sí, la verdad es que las sesiones en el Congreso han sido bastante lamentables, y justo es algo que había comentado ya en el discurso o en mi posicionamiento, ya que lamentablemente es algo que vivimos todos los días. Es violencia política, de género, razón de género, y esta violencia justo se ejerce hacia nosotras, personas jóvenes, personas mujeres, que vivimos ahí todos los días este tipo de actitudes machistas, hablando del término machista, en el mismo Congreso. La verdad es que es inaceptable que se ejerzan este tipo de patrones y que se siga dando continuidad a las situaciones que se viven. Pero también hay muchas veces que inclusive se ponen las mismas barreras, que nosotras mismas no nos defendemos, justo lo que mencionan, no hacemos este clic de decir, tenemos que apoyarnos, tenemos que estar juntas y pase lo que pase, debemos de tomar cartas en el asunto al respecto. Entonces, es lamentable que tampoco pase entre nosotras como mujeres y que permitamos que este tipo de expresiones hacia nosotras como mujeres sigan pasando. Son lamentables las expresiones, no es la primera vez, ya han pasado otros diputados que toman el micrófono y dicen sandeces y media en contra de las mujeres. Y no solamente pasa aquí en Puebla, pasa en México, pasa en todos lados. Entonces, no debemos de permitir, y justo lo que mencionaba es un tema de que podamos nosotras acudir y denunciar a las instancias pertinentes para decir, me están violentando y están violentando mis derechos, a mí como mujer, y me están señalando a mí, ¿no? Entonces, es complicado, te comento, si muchas veces nosotras no hacemos esta unión que nos falta, y lo que sí tenemos que hacer es acudir a la propia denuncia, que es claro que si la diputada Nancy decidía acudir a las instancias para hacer una denuncia, pues ella lo iba a hacer, tenía la libertad de realizarlo y nosotros le íbamos a apoyar. En este caso no se decidió de esta manera, pero sí es claro que lo que tenemos que hacer es tomarnos de la mano y no permitir que en espacios públicos, primero, que es como un ejemplo y es una voz del pueblo, que es lo que se menciona, ¿no? Al final es en donde nosotros representamos a a la sociedad, que se sigan generando los mismos patrones. Y no solo ahí, sino en todos los lugares, tanto en la familia, con los vecinos, con la misma sociedad. Entonces, pues gracias por la pregunta, Sheila, y cualquier cosa ahí estamos para responderte lo que tú quieras.
Muchas gracias, diputada, por su respuesta. Comentaba hace unos minutos que estamos llegando ya al final de la sesión. Era programada nada más para 1 hora. Así que si ya no vemos más comentarios, creo que vamos a dar pie al cierre. Lo vamos a hacer igual en español y en inglés. Muchísimas gracias. So, thank you so much again to the Congresswoman for her answer to this question, and thank you again for the question. As I was mentioned before, we were about finishing the session, so if there's not any comments or questions about it, I would like to make the closure and just to say thank you again to Shira, and thank you to all the members of Girl Up that are joining us, that are with us today, and also to all the guests. Thank you again to the translator. Thank you, Leslie, for being here with us, helping us a lot. And thank you guys for being here and want to inform yourselves about this topic. And I just want you to say that the club and also the Congresswoman is always open to have a more specific discussion about it. And whenever you want, just feel pleased to join us in our spaces that are yours too. So thank you again, Shira. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, Jhoane. Thank you, Abril. And thank you, Congresswoman Estefanía. I think we are going to the end. We just are at the end of the session, and thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I just want to jump in with a quick thank you to you guys. You have been absolutely incredible. I just want to let you all know that this is the 3rd session of Girl Up's Exploring COVID-19's Intersectional Impact on Women and Girls Worldwide. We have another seminar today talking about domestic violence and partner abuse in Canada. So if you would like to sign up for that, it's in a few hours. We also have about 14 other events going on until the end of August that are all going to be translated into Portuguese and Spanish. So please go to the website, go to Girl Up Edinburgh on all of your social media, and we are so grateful to have you here, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you, Shira. Y simplemente ya en español para los que están aquí. Muchas gracias por presentarse en este espacio. Como Shira ya dijo, se extiende la invitación para este evento que pues es internacional. Más al rato va a haber una intervención con violencia doméstica en Canadá, por si se quieren unir. Nuevamente, muchas gracias, diputada, por estar aquí, por ser un ejemplo en el Congreso y con su activismo. Muchísimas gracias. Muchas gracias, Jhoane, muchas gracias, Abril, y gracias a todos por estar aquí.
Thank you. I just wanted to say one message to conclude. No, I don't know if I can or no.
Sure.
Oh, thank you. Well, I just want to say that this pandemic came to teach us that in the end, every individual problem is in the end to a collective problem. So whether we like it or not, we must all assume the consequence and contribute to change. So thank you for being here with us today. And thank you, Jennifer, thank you, Abril, and thank you, Shira, for the invitation.
Thank you. And I would like to say something really quick because we're just ending this webinar. And this is that for us to achieve gender equality, we need to start caring, we need to start acting, because most of the people think that if you don't have a case near you, you don't care about it. But we need to start caring about any issues, not just talking about women issues as saying that, no? It's our society that has these issues, is a whole problem that we need to face. And also we need to have sisterhood, as the Congresswoman said. Thank you, Shira, for this great opportunity.